How's everyone doing? Vote Scion for Clown Craig. You're hilarious.
Hey, sorry, in my anger at Craig, I accidentally closed my internet. So
Oh my god.
He was calling us out again this week.
Dramatic.
So I got a little, I just got a little angry. I said that we'd go till 3:05 though, or I get 6:05 your time.
Oh yeah. Okay.
You
are writing a progressive story. Any pointers, please? What sort of questions do you have? Just pre-game a bit here with my water.
Sorry, I'm gonna get to where I need to be. Okay, we are good. I am here. I'm here. Hey.
Awesome.
3:05 a.m. Oh, jeez. I don't know what time it is, you guys. I had a long week. Hey, everyone. It's a really long week for me.
Sure, yeah. I can vouch for that.
I have my, put on a kilt and call me Sassenach mug again, because, like you said, 52 mugs is a lot to own. So, a repeat.
I don't have a mug prepared, but I got this guy,
Nice.
I just put my water bottle in him.
I just always feel like this mug is so fitting, because it's so true. Just get a Scottish accent, put on a kilt, call me Sassenach, you got me. Or wait, you could also pull a bishop, get a Southern accent, and call me darling. Or you could pull a Patrick and just have an Irish accent and talk endlessly to me.
So what I'm hearing is you like accents.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do both your guys' hair look so good? Stunners, thank you. That's so sweet.
This one isn't much better.
So we've got, so how do I create conflict? It really depends on what sort of conflict you're wanting. If you're going for relationship conflict, or if you're going for battle conflict. We've got a couple of lives that you can check out on our YouTube we cover mood and aesthetic, we cover fantasy, we cover relationships, romance, stuff like that. That you can watch that might answer some of your questions depending on the totality of your, I guess, what you're asking. Tonight we're talking about non-romantic relationships. So we can tell you how to create conflict like that.
Oh man, I'm the Pisces today. My battery's at 30%. 1 second. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm already charged in. Is that even, hi Alicia, is that even a word? I'm so behind. I don't even have a notebook, guys.
I have a notebook because I bought a notebook that I didn't need, and then I just
yeah.
Now I need an excuse to say, oh man, I just totally put my thing off kilter. Hold on here.
I got it. Okay.
I'm good. Okay. We're good, right?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. All right, guys.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Meg, and I am running out of obscure things to say at the beginning of these. If you have any ideas for oddities, go ahead and just send them to me now, because I am at that point of desperation. You can find all my work on Wattpad, links in the bio, but feel free to pick what fancies you. Here's a quick rundown. I am the author of The Miranda Writes Night Shift, which follows the POV of Detective Miranda Walker, a probably crazy and recently suspended homicide detective in the world of werewolves, vampires, and, she reluctantly saves the day. Then I have Birds and Bullets, which is an espionage romance with a bisexual and way too damaged for undercover work protagonist. And then, I always promote it. I've got my sadder, and, also sometimes kind of happy poetry. And those books are Shallow, In Deep, Ice and Stone, and my newest venture, Paper Roses. I read a lot of poetry. I'm sorry. And then just one more. I promise this is getting lengthier as the year goes on, but this year was crazy productive, and I 100% blame you guys for that. You keep me focused, so I appreciate that. Anyway, knock on wood to that. I want to thank everybody who's commented and went and read this last one, because it means so much to me, and I love just seeing you guys come in. With a lot of you guys are in chat, and you come in and you say like things, and you're picking up what I'm putting down. So if you haven't read my latest book, it's called The Ostler's Boy, hashtag The Ostler's Boy, and yeah, I'm posting like every single day. I hope you guys read it and tell me what you think about that. But that is a pseudo-medieval romance that's all about forbidden love and fate. And yeah, that's it. Too long didn't read. You guys inspire me. I have a new book. Elle?
Well, I just want to say Craig was commenting. He said, I can be the expert this week. We should have invited Craig because all of his relationships are apparently non-romantic. So
Oh,
that's also like, we're just getting off a lot.
that's fulfilling.
Also commenting on the fact that I took a drink and then had a face of disgust. So I have to admit something. On the People of Color, I bought that caramel macchiato drink, and it was so bad. I think everyone remembers me nearly dying. Well, I was out grocery shopping, and I found a caramel macchiato drink again, but it's a different brand. It's International Delight. So I was like, I feel like I should try this on the live, and so here we are, and it's not good.
Maybe don't do blind taste while you're like being recorded. I don't know.
I know, and the worst thing is I'm like, not only is everyone who's here right now going to see this, but people who watch the YouTube later are going to see this. So anyway. Hey everyone. For all you new viewers, I'm Elle, and I use the Grinch smirk gif more than I should admit, and I know you guys are now all running to my DMs, but slow down. I only have so much time to answer. Outside my mad gift game, though, I am the writer of 2 contemporary romances, Calorglin and For the Love of Art. Both are fully released and ready to be binged on Wattpad. And if romance, sex, and happily ever afters are not your thing, then you can check out my poetry. I have my self-titled book, Elle, a Book of Poetry, which details the pivotal moments in my life leading up to the most difficult one, my dad's death. I also randomly dropped another poetry book this week called Under the Starry Sky.
It is not happy. Don't be confused by the cover and the happy title. It is not happy. Fair warning.
It's a collection of poems that just don't fit Elle. There's no real rhyme or rhythm to them. I also received a lot of feedback on my poem last week, the very last one I did of the 3. And no, it's not going to be in that poetry book. As I said, that poem will probably not be released on any of my books, but thank you for all the comments on my poetry lately. You guys have been amazing. But yeah, well, Meg and I are both romance authors, as you guys know, but this week we are going to be not talking about romance. We're actually going to be talking about all those non-romantic relationships that are sprinkled throughout your novels.
Hot damn. Alicia, yes, we do have a YouTube. The link is in my bio, probably.
Mine is in my tree.
It might be an L's. In a crazy random turn of events, Elle might be the prepared one this week. But if you need it, you can ask me for it. I'll send it to you, and I'll make sure that it is in there. I'm writing a note right now in my handy dandy notebook. Bio, YouTube. I'm pretty sure it's there. We'll see.
I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, friendships, families, coworkers, that's all the stuff we're talking about today. But let's see, before we get to it, friendly reminder, yes, we do have a YouTube. We have a Discord too. If you're not part of it, you are missing out. We even have a poetry woetry channel where we just throw poems at each other. And yeah, soon you'll have a chance at your very own So You Want a mug, because we're going to start merch.
Oh, so excited.
The point is subscribe, join, tell your friends, and watch out for those mugs.
Yeah, you guys have seen us use them, actually, so. You have a Discord, yeah.
Craig, you're the worst.
The guy who just called us out on our Discord for being Discord, dude. As always, you guys, I'm looking for those screenshots for Meg's blanket. I offered her a poetry book instead, but she very strongly rejected that idea.
I don't remember this.
You don't remember, from Canada with Love? Do you remember?
I thought that's what you were going to scroll in red crayon on the box.
Put a Canada in one corner and a US in the bottom. There's going to be like an arrow with a heart, and it's going to be really romantic poetry, from Canada with Love. And then you were like, no, I want the blanket. So we're back at the blanket.
I just want to point out that, Craig, your poetry game is weak. You just said you guys have a Discord. I couldn't make that joke 2 weeks ago because I couldn't make it rhyme. Well, I just did that in my head as I read that, so you suck. You guys have a Discord. What? I didn't hear the word. I don't know. That's just riffing.
Okay.
Anyway,
just drop the screenshots into my DMs so that I can give Meg her long-awaited Christmas gift that she is just dying for.
Gross. All right, guys, we got a lot to stuff. We got a lot to cover tonight. The real question is, do we have time? So drop your questions as we go. We'll try to get to those and the ones all by the end of the show before the clock runs out. So you want to get started?
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to start us off this week. Meg did last week, so it feels like it's my turn. We're just going to take a drink of this nasty thing.
My curls have all fallen out, guys.
My curl game is a little bit weak, too. It's all good. Okay, I'm going to talk to you guys about writing friendships.
Woo! Ow!
Friendship probably feels like the easiest thing to create and write. It's something we've all felt. It's something we've all experienced. However, there are definitely some common mistakes that writers make when creating these relationships. So the first thing that we should do is we should start by...
I just read Craig's comment. He says, you're a writer and I'm a moron, so not surprised you thought of something. That is sad. Please don't talk about my friend that way.
Oh, Craig. Your comments this evening are just a little sad.
Oh, God. Go on.
Okay, so let's start by defining friendship. Friendship is a state of enduring affection, esteem, intimacy, and trust between two people. It is recognized by both members of the relationship and is characterized by a bond or tie of reciprocated affection. It is not obligatory. Two individuals choose to form a friendship with each other. There are no legal or formal obligations in friendship. It is typically egalitarian in nature. There are no, unlike parent-child relationships, for instance, each individual in a friendship has about the same amount of power or authority in the relationship. It is almost always characterized by companionship and shared activities. In fact, one of the primary goals and motivations of friendship is companionship. And in addition, adolescent and adult friendships often perform other functions, such as serving as sources of emotional support and providing opportunities for self-disclosure and intimacy. And when I say intimacy, you guys, I'm not talking sex. I am talking about like a closeness the closeness of intimacy.
Yeah.
And deep familiarity is what I mean whenever I'm talking about intimacy, just let everyone knows. Okay. That was a lot of blah, blah, blah mansplaining for you guys. But as a writer, it's just super important to think and know what friendship actually is at its core. So it's that saying that we always do, Meg. Do your research. Oh, God.
Oh, God.
Oh, Lord, help me, you guys. This is awful. Okay. So the nice thing about writing friendships is that because you've likely experienced a variety of them, you have a general idea of how to create the dynamics between your fictional friends. I think one of the best comments I ever got from someone who was helping me with my novel in my series was that they told me that my friendship between my two females felt very natural. And that comment told me that I was on the right track with my relationship building, and this is why you should get beta readers, guys. It told me that, like, if the friendship feels natural to the reader, then that means that you're doing it right. Because friendship does feel natural. Think about when you're talking to your friend. It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like you're trying to, you know, get emotion. I mean, unless you're Meg messaging me like 10 times and I'm just not getting it that you want to be my friend. Because I'm like really sad. I don't know. All right, but of course, for this topic, I'm going to talk to you guys more about how to create adult friendships in writing, because it's most likely that you are writing adult friendships. So they are a little bit more finicky than childhood ones. We talked about how children are placed in institutions where they have access to people their age and with similar interests, so this makes forming friendship easier. But as adults, we often find ourselves immersed in a world where people are a variety of ages and stages in life. So it's a lot more difficult to create that connection. So when you're writing adult friendships, you want to make sure that you have established what are the commonalities that actually tie these two people together.
Yeah.
You're going to need like, one can't be into hiking and the other one likes to hide under blankets all day. You know, that's not, it's just not. Gasp, adult friendships are hard.
Yeah.
So something that writers sometimes struggle with creating are static/perfect friendships. So all relationships, whether romantic or not, go through growing pains, tough times, and sometimes, unfortunately, they end. And it's okay to show the tough moments in your characters' friendships. Maybe that's what they need to grow or to realize something that they didn't before. And on that note, we need to remember, you guys, that friends fight. Yes, even Meg and I fight. I know that we look perfect and we act perfect, but, you know, we're human, so.
Who acts perfect? It ain't me.
No, I am practically perfect. So again, just like romantic relationships, you have moments where you're not going to see eye to eye on things. Emotions are going to get high. But the other thing I will say is that something else I see is that people will have a fight end a whole friendship in a book. And again, that's just not realistic. Most adult friends do not end a friendship over a fight unless the reason for the fight is pretty heinous. Again, it just shows a really flat friendship, which isn't fun to read.
Ansley just said, I fight with Meg once a day. Oh, yeah?
Wow. All right, you guys. All right, as well, know your main character, how they react to things like disagreements in their friendships. Some people are more forgiving than others. They're are faster to forgive. Other people hold on to their anger and kind of hold a bit of a grudge. And there's just different kinds of people. Some people, you know, fight and they keep talking to that person because they don't want that fight to, you know, get in the way of the friendship because it's just not worth it. You know, like there's all different kinds of people. So know your main character and know how they would deal with that kind of stuff. That's all part of character development, which we do have a video on. Also keep in mind that friendship is a two-way street. Meg once described friendship to me as a series of withdrawals and deposits, and I really actually like that. Some days we all feel like we have a lot to give, so that's when the withdrawals come in, while others we just need more support, and that's deposits. So as readers, we should see that dynamic play out. The final pitfall, oh my gosh, I'm going to say I read is that often best friends have zero life outside of the main character. That's not realistic, guys. Everyone has things that they do. We all have hobbies. We all have dreams, and we all have lives. So don't forget to give your bestie in the novel a life.
Don't read Craig's comment. I tried to save you.
You know what? Some friendships are sexual. We're just not going there.
Yeah. For anybody who's watching this on YouTube, Craig Crash says, a series of deposits and withdrawals. How is that not sexual?
Anyway. All right, you guys. Fine, Craig. I'm out. My Canadian accent's been droning on for too long. It's getting too nasally. The point is, try and model your friendships off your real life ones. Your friendships in real life are important. The ones in your novels should be too. Okay, Meg, go.
Okay. a couple of things. The Spreading the Chaos channel is amazing. I haven't had a chance to play Mafia on it yet. Yeah, that would be fun. And then silly ongoing fights are fun to read and more realistic, in my opinion. Yeah, I think so too. And actually, like, I can't even remember what we were like discussing. It wasn't even a fight, but Elle and I had something like last week where it was like kind of in the background of what we were doing. So like we were still going on day to day with our everyday life, but like that was like still existing on its own little like arc in the background, and it was just kind of silly. So I mean, that's, yeah, it's real and it's fun. Okay, guys, I'm gonna talk about family, and
Hold
you
on, there's a question.
haven't.
Can we just do it really quick? Have you
Yeah.
ever read Friends to Enemies to Friends? I actually read a really great book and I recommend it to people. She's I cannot remember the author's name. I'm so sorry, but the name of the book is China Dolls. And this author actually does all books on friendships. Like, they're not necessarily around romantic relationships. Like, the core relationship that she always deals with is non-romantic. And I read like a really great one that was like a friends to enemies to friends. And China Dolls was one that I would call that. And it was really, really good. Really good. Highly recommend. Lisa C. That's her name. Lisa C. Really good book.
I was like, what? Lisa C.
And it's called China.
I have not read that trope because I am a weird romance reader. I would read Friends to Enemies to Lovers.
You sure
But
would.
I'd write it. Anyway, okay, folks, I'm talking about family. If you have read any of my books, they all have a very heavy family experience happening with the main character. But I'm going to say this, and, you know, some of y'all are going to be like, oh, God, that's dark. Don't open that box. But the point is, when you're writing, you don't have to have a family to write a family. I wrote a whole book on werewolves, and I assure you, I know no werewolves. So you just have to be aware of some things. And the very first one is that family is an important part to your character's life. And yes, I'm saying character, not just protagonist, not just antagonist, not, you know, whatever. I mean, you know, your main character, the villain, the barista, everybody in your book is a real person, right? So family is important. Whether or not they have no family, that affects them. Or if they have 8 brothers and sisters, that affects them. And of course, some of the best tropes are, you know, like the found vibe, the found family vibe with this. So, like, family for me, in my opinion, when I'm talking about this, is basically a loose term to use to define like the most important support system for your characters. So yeah, it can mean, you know, mom, dad, grandpa, and all that jazz. But it could also be like, hey, Ellie's basically my sister, you know, and she had known her for, you know, I'm making this up, by the way. I'm just kidding. I've known her for ever. We do everything together. She's like the sister I never had, right? But anyway, yeah, please remember that these are, you know, if you want to write something that feels real, you need to make sure that all your characters are real. And as Elle said, they have their own motivations, their own lives, and everything happening in the background. So, whether you're here for it, your main character, barista number 5, let's talk. To start, let's talk about some things that don't work when you're building those delicious little relationship spider webs, right?
Call it a delicious spider web. We just had a conversation about spider webs yesterday, and I'm still like a little like about it.
Right? So I want to bring up siblings first, because I find as a reader, I can usually guess which, I shouldn't say usually, it's easy to know if the author doesn't have siblings as opposed to, like, right? Have you ever, delicious spider webs?
I'm not the only one who noticed you said spider webs.
So have you ever read a book and like it was cool, and then you got to like the siblings, and then they're just like using names that you don't use, or they're like overselling like the angst between siblings or whatever. You know, as someone who has a brother, you know, that's not real. So I just want to address that. That was the number one question I got in my DMs, was about sibling relationships and how to write them and stuff. So I made kind of a list that I'm just going to go through for tonight. All right. And if you have more questions, you know, ask me. If you're writing a brother-sister dynamic and you want to know stuff, feel free. So, I'm gonna avoid that comment that I just saw come in because there's a lot of emojis and I'm scared. All right. So, number one, people write terms of endearment weirdly. Like, I have a brother and I don't call him bro. I call my friends bro. And I call my brother on occasion, but only ironically. And in my youth, I called him an assortment of all sort of unpleasant things. But as an adult, I mostly just call him by his first name, or like a shorter version of that. And I find that a lot of like the dialogue that some people use would be like, you know, hey sis, hey sissy, hey bro, hey, you know, whatever. You know, I just want to throw this out there, and I don't know how it is for everybody else in the world, but for me, my brother does not call me sis, and I would find it like personally very weird and off-putting if he did. And in fact, I would probably start trying to like dissect other things of what he was saying to me, because I would assume that he was talking to me in some sort of code and that he was in danger, and I would have to like decipher it, you know? But yeah, I call him by his first name. And then I also don't use it every other sentence. I actually rarely use my brother's name now that I'm thinking about it, you know?
Yeah.
I don't go out of my way. And usually it's when I'm like mad or he's doing something that I'm like, whoa, you know, like, hey, gotta get your attention. So yeah, just something to think about. And then, so I don't close this. Parents are... Where is the only child fam at? That's sad.
Not me. I'm sorry, guys.
Craig, that was dark. He says I call my sister adopted. I'm gonna read this. Don't eat Megan's cooking. Don't eat Meg's cooking. Don't eat Meg's cooking. Oh, you're just making a list. You're a dick. All right. That's probably a safe bet, though. You'll probably make it to the end of the movie. All right, parents. It's perfectly normal, and again, like everything I'm saying here is very I'm American, so this is American based, and you need to take into account that there are going to be cultural differences between how families and family dynamics work, but for me, this is what I'm saying, and it's my show, so okay. Anyway, so
I like how we always use that as an excuse for everything we say. It's my show, so I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah. So parents, one, it's perfectly normal for an adult woman to call her dad daddy. I know that all you guys are gonna come in here and be like, that's a sexy term and that's weird. No, you know, like, we're talking about parents right now, okay? So
Relationships, guys.
yeah, but you know, up until he passed away, I called my dad daddy all the time, you know? So that's okay, right? And then for moms, maybe I'm weird, but I don't call my mom mommy. I just call her mom, and sarcastically, I use her first name. But that's really more like a character trait than, you know, the norm, probably. Let's see. In some African and some Indian culture, they call the eldest sister or brother as a respect. It's very disrespectful to call them by their name. Okay, so there's a difference that I had no idea about. So just make sure that if you're writing different cultures or different areas in the world, to do your research. She was ready for it. Okay.
I'm gonna throw up this drink for sure, and I'm not even hungover this week like last time.
Bro,
okay.
Do you need to go get something?
No, we're good. We're gonna power through this, you guys. We're good.
I went with the safe choice. And I took off the tag
again.
so you guys can't locate me and come murder me. Okay. when you write parents, keep in mind. I'm thinking all the time. Okay, so when you write parents, keep in mind that, again, there's cultural differences between the relationships than maybe you would see on this show or whatever. But you also want to think about these parents, or parent singular, or at the absence of parents. These are the people who literally raised your character. So readers want this kind of behind the scenes, even if you just like touch on it or whatever, because it explains quirks and fears and maybe insecurities and attachment issues. And I guess what I'm saying is this isn't the absolute rule, but it's just something to think about. So an example, and I'm going to pull from my own work here. Is that a thing? What's a thing? Oh, murder? People murdering you? I'm just saying, like, on the internet, if I had a tag on here and it had the store that I bought it from, you could Google the store and then find out where they are regionally, and it would just, you know, listen.
That's why I put all my drinks in a mug, because then no one knows. Everyone knows.
Did you not survive AOL Instant Messenger? Like, this is like internet safety 101. Don't tell Elijah Wood where you live. Sorry.
What? I wasn't supposed to tell Elijah Wood where I lived?
Oh, no. Okay.
Oh.
Catfishing is a real crime, guys. Okay. So examples as parent relationships, just to kind of dive into what I'm talking about, in like the Miranda rights. So Miranda Walker in Night Shift and Protect and Serve, she is the eldest of two sisters. She has no brothers. Her mom is gone, and all she has left is her very masculine, hotshot detective daddy, who has no idea how to raise girls alone, and oh yeah, he's also an alcoholic. So before substance abuse was an issue, there was kind of like a disconnect there. And so as a result, Miranda has grown up as the serious sister, the more parental role. She never really got to be a kid. And she's the one who's always got to take care of her sister. And then that pressure that her dad kind of shifts onto her has shaped her into this no-nonsense kind of fucked up person. But she also became a cop because he was a cop. And then she just has this perpetual need to want to be enough for her family and for her dad. And so, you know, her whole life, the way he raised her and his own issues for her and her perspective kind of made her aware of the distance between them. And then, yeah, you know, she now, as a result, as an adult, she's very like cold with romantic partners. She's turned off by the sweet and cuddly, and she wants someone who's not going to make her feel coddled or like the damsel in distress. So, and that's all a result of that issue there. And then in Birds and Bullets, Jamie is has a great relationship with both his parents, but his dad died suddenly and his mom was gone by the start of the book. So he's just lonely. And now he's reaching, like eternally reaching for this soulmate connection that he saw with his parents for himself. And he doesn't want to settle for anything less than his other half. And he doesn't want the pain of not having it in the first place. So as a result of that, he's kind of devastatingly bad at picking partners because he's willing to give true love a chance in pretty much anyone. Which, if you've read the book, he is a raven, which is like a sexpionage thing. It's a guy who goes in and gets information out of someone by flirting and sleeping with and whatevering, okay? So he's probably in the worst career possible for that type of personality. Yeah. Anyway, that's my take on it. As Elle said, we're both romance writers, so that's my 2 cents on a parent's influence, but it definitely changes with whatever you're writing. If you're writing like high fantasy warriors, who was the barbarian's dad? Was he the village's biggest, baddest, most feared raider ever, or was he some punk that no one trusts? That reputation is going to bleed into your character's life, whether or not they have a relationship with their parents. And it's really a sneaky way to information dump without your readers realizing that's what you're doing. So grandparents, Elle, you should probably expand on this one.
Do we really
What?
want me to take this when my only living grandparent is a grandmother who has like schizophrenia and dementia?
Okay. Well, I wasn't really close with mine, so I know there's a lot of terms like, and I can tell you this, you know, like papa, mama, grandma, papa, grandpa, pop, oma, opa, but that's really like the extent of my knowledge in that. But I will say it again, writing family dynamics is, you know, just my favorite thing to do. So I'm just going to beat this. I'm sorry. But just keep in mind that this is such a good chance for like that generational curse to come in, or like a blessing sort of thing. You know, you can use your character's last name, the hierarchy, you know, they're like long distance relatives or whatever, but you have such a potential here to, you know, bleed in here for like better or for worse. And then maybe you could like tell things about your character without them even realizing it that other people knew about their family. But yeah, anyway, I'm just gonna lump the rest of these together for the sake of time. But if you have any questions regarding specific family members, you know, drop them. So yeah, aunts and uncles, I still call my uncle and then his first name. I don't know if that's weird,
Yeah,
but I do.
that's
Sometimes
like,
I call him by his first name sometimes, but the first time I did it, I was kind of like, huh, that's like the first time I did that. And then cousins and friends. I know Elle covered friends, but since we're talking about like found family potentially, you know, I just kind of lump these together because they're probably pretty similar as far as, you know, terms of endearment go. I do know some people call their cousins cuz, but I don't do that. So I just usually stick to like first names, you know, and whatever. And the last thing I will leave you with is a reiteration of your family has life outside of your main character in the story. So just like when you write any other character in your novel, you want to make sure that mom, dad, sister Mary, and all of the above have their own hopes, dreams, aspirations, jobs, and overall lives. They have places to be that isn't just driving your MC to and from school or work, or being in the kitchen every time your character has an existential crisis. So, woo!
all right, let's move on to coworkers. Let's like bang this out because there are questions. You guys had really good questions this week, by the way. Okay, so I personally think that coworkers are a really interesting dynamic to write, and that's probably because they're just really interesting in real life. I mean, these are people that you're basically forced into developing some kind of relationship with based on proximity. But before we can talk about the actual relationships that you bond, we should talk about the fact that workplaces are diverse. And this is a stepping stone to building workplace relationships in your book. So the main wonder that I see in workplace scenes when I'm reading, especially a novel where the workplace isn't necessarily like the main place. Sorry, I was reading a comment.
Location.
Location. Thank
Setting.
you. A setting. Thank you.
Meet point.
Everyone tends to be very generic and similar, and that's not realistic. Think about your own workplace, wherever you are. There are so many different personalities and so many different, you know, people. Like we talked about in our People of Color episode, there's going to be a range of shades in there. Please do not whitewash your workplace. And whenever I say various personalities, I'm saying there are going to be some people who are super friendly. There are going to be some people who are oversharers of their life that make you uncomfortable. There are some who are going to be borderline crazy. There are some who stick to themselves and just want to get their work done and get out of there. That's me, by the way. Meg knows because every day I'm like, how long do you think I can keep my head down and no one will notice I'm here? And it lasts like 20 minutes. And then another thing that I see that people don't often think about is the environment that they put their main character in. So in So for example, in real life, I actually work in a very male-dominated industry. So if you were representing my industry in a book and I saw a bunch of women all over the place, I'd kind of be like, this is not a well-researched book. They didn't look into the industry itself. And I'm here. Whew, okay. I didn't do a lot of research into the industry that I work in and where you find like most women. Not to say that you can't find women in other areas, but it's definitely male dominated. In fact, where I work, I am normally the only female there.
Same here.
But however, in other industries, they can be quite female heavy. So for example, when I was in university, I used to temp at a dental office, and it was actually very female heavy. So these are the kinds of things that you want to think about when you're creating your workplace. And as I kind of breezed over earlier, but I'm going to just go a little bit deeper into it. Finally, like, we cannot address diversity in the workplace without saying that there is a variety of color, you guys. As I said, don't whitewash your workplace. Remember that people of color episode, that skin comes in a variety of shades. As well, keep in mind, everyone's not going to be cis, everyone's not going to be heterosexual, and that's going to be different in different industries again. So make sure that you know the industry you're writing in. And then, yeah, and with a diverse cast, that's how you're going to start to build those workplace relationships, because you've developed your character, you know how your character is going to react to different people. So Meg, take it away on building.
Guys, I just wanna throw this out here. There are two types of hosts here. You have Elle.
Hi.
Yes. Actually wrote the script this week. I swear, I do write it occasionally. I do. I swear.
No, you do. I'm laughing because I just
it's like
think
50-50.
Every time I write a script, you're yelling at me because I don't write you right.
So, like, it's 50-50 with us, okay? So, like, one week I'll do it and the other days. But, okay, so we basically pick and choose the ones that we're most excited about. And it's kind of worked out because Elle and I like opposite things. So, like, she's like, oh, I'm so stoked about non-romantic relationships. And I'm like, snooze. Anyway, so, I just want you guys to know that she has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs that she just blew through, right? And my comment is, I'm just going to riff off whatever you're going to say in the moment. My brain has broken. So, 2 types of hosts. I'm just here for the party pal. She's the one with all the information, evidently. I forgot I wrote that. And so I scrolled down and I was like, well, I certainly don't have anything to add to that. Thanks, past Megan. The point is, the only thing that you kind of hinted at but didn't touch on is, again, culture. So make sure that you're showing those dynamics there. Unless your book is like very heavily about like the person's career, maybe you don't need to go so deep into that. But, for example, if you're reading Coworkers, you're going to see The Office a lot, and there are different personalities in there. And, just like Friends, some of them don't mesh, some of them do, and whatever.
Some of them mesh a little too much, am I right?
Gross. So this is non-romantic relationships. Get out.
I'm sorry. I took it there. I'm bad. Okay.
As promised, I'm going to move straight into questions because we are almost to the hour, and I know we were late, but I don't want to be...
I go 5 over, 5 late, so...
Yep. Okay, so, as promised, we have your questions. 1, do you write friendships based on your own friendships? So I actually had never done this before until The Ostler's Boy. And Elle is smiling because there is a character in the book that is very clearly Elle. And to the point that she noticed. Like, she was like, wait a second, I've said this. Like, I took actual words.
I was like, I'm pretty sure I said this to you the other day.
Yeah. No, so like usually I have an idea idea of who these characters are ahead of time and, you know, like what they would say and the kind of advice they have. And I write kind of sporadically where I'm like, oh, I got to throw this in here and that in there because dialogue is my most favorite thing about writing and, you know, words matter. So whatever. But, you know, occasionally Elle has said a couple things and I'm like, wow, that feels like Josie. And so I went back in there and I like was like, and I just waited to see if Elle would notice. So
I noticed pretty fast.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because the first one she was like, that sounds familiar. And then the next one she was like, wait, I straight up said this like, verbatim. So, you know, the answer is both. You know, I do write friendship based on my own friendships. Actually in the Miranda writes, there's a Miranda Eddie dynamic that was based very, very based on an actual friendship. What?
Are you trying to say based loosely? Because you keep going based, and I'm like, you could just say based loosely.
Based loosely, very loosely, on a friendship. But obviously that took like a much darker route. Read the book. Anyway, yeah. So yes and no. Elle?
So I'm also yes and no. When on episode, there is actually a story that I wrote with I have a co-author on episode. I don't normally write alone on there, with my friend. And, and so we wrote a book called Parallelogram, and it's actually very loosely based on our friendship and our friendship dynamic.
I've read that.
So, yeah. So that's actually based on our friendship, and we wrote it for that purpose because we thought we were hilarious.
Aww.
I don't know if we are funny or not, but we thought it was hilarious in the moment. And outside of that, you know, it's yes and no. I'll give you guys a little sneak peek into my NaNoWriMo. There is a character that I am basing on Meg because it just feels like what she would say to my main character would be things that Meg would say to me. And so
are they all insults?
Well, you know.
Oh my God, some of them are.
Blowing right by that.
Yeah.
So yes and no. I think there's little pieces of everyone I know in my books. I think that's just normal that as an author you kind of take bits and pieces of people and things that you see around you because we're creepy like that as writers. So
yeah,
I'm yes and no too is the short answer.
Yeah. Okay. 2, sibling relationships tend to show an unnatural dynamic. How do you make sure this doesn't happen? Again, if you don't have any siblings, find somebody who does and ask them. Like I asked someone today, like I was like, I just want to make sure that I'm doing this right. What do you call your brother? You know? And he was like, his name, you know? So, just do your research, right?
Oh, dang it. I have to drink this gross thing.
I know. The goal is to make Elle finish that. All right.
Oh, God, you guys.
Read it out loud, get beta readers, and, you know, just treat them like people.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, I have 2 brothers, and everything Meg said is so true in our relationship as well. So I agree. Just make sure that you that if you don't have siblings, you ask someone who does. You know, we're happy to share. You know,
we got a comment. It says, "What do you call your brother, ma'am? This is a Wendy's." The joke there is that the Wendy's guy called me ma'am. Okay. I'm just kidding. Last time they forgot my chicken nuggets. All right. 3, building sibling relationships that are huge gaps. So I'm guessing.
I'll kick. Yeah, I was gonna say they weren't super clear, and I'm guessing they're talking about age. So
yeah.
Sorry, I was like, I'll kick it off because I was like, that
no
I didn't know if you knew, and I didn't know either. It came into my questions. Yeah, so I thought, I'm assuming they mean huge age gap. I'm gonna tell you guys. So I'm the youngest of 3. I have 2 older brothers. My oldest brother and I are actually 7 years apart in age. And then my brothers are 5 years apart in age. And so That was because my parents actually had second child infertility. So to say that like having a huge age gap is unrealistic, it's not. That's not true. People have like varying age gaps between their kids, and they range from fertility issues to just, some people just aren't ready to have kids after a couple years. Mm-hmm. Some people want to wait until one's in school before having another. Some people do have them very close. I had a friend.
Some people miss their pill.
Some people miss their pill. Yeah. So many things. Some people use breastfeeding as birth control. There's so many reasons why people have different age gap kids. There's no such thing as too big an age gap or too short an age gap, so that's reality in real life. So that's reality in a book. You can have various age gaps for various reasons. And honestly, it doesn't even really matter. Like if I see siblings who are 5 years apart, it doesn't even really click in my head that much because I'm like, well, that happens in real life. So whatever, it doesn't necessarily matter.
I would say if you have a character who's, say, 20 years older than their sibling, I feel like that would take on more of obviously I'm the youngest here, but it feels like it would be more like, not like a parent, but more like an uncle type sort of vibe, where like, this is a child, it's not like you can share secrets about where you're sneaking out to in the middle of the night with, Mm-hmm. I feel like that's really more like that sort of dynamic there.
I was also going to say, actually, something Ensley said, it sparked something in me. There is something I have seen where people have they'll be like, their characters will be exactly 9 months apart in age. And I'm like, that's not realistic, not unless that second baby was premature, because you guys, I'm sorry, do some research into birth. No woman is walking out of that having sex the next day and getting pregnant. So
there's some woman out there doing that, but
well, I think that woman is crazy. Just do your research, you guys, on childbirth.
Unless that's a plot point and they're exactly 9 months apart, and there's some question on if they're actually
unless there's question on that parenthood there.
Fully. All right.
Kind of weird. Anyway, okay.
Next question. You're bilingual. How do I write a family like you're in?
Oh yeah, that came in. Okay, yeah. So, I think that's for me.
Yeah.
For my questions. Okay. This is an interesting one, and I actually really like this question because we kind of talked about it in People of Color, how we're all dying to have ourselves represented. And I do like stories about bilingual people because I'm like, oh, someone like me, even if it's not the same language. So the first thing I'm going to say is you want to think about the family as a whole. So I'll use my family as an example in this because it's the easiest thing that I've got. So my mom speaks French, and then my dad was wholly English. So you have to think about that kind of stuff because obviously at the dinner table, you can imagine that we were speaking English because obviously we're not going to speak French and leave my dad out. That would be weird. But you would hear things mixed in there. We might say pass the butter in French or something like that. There would be moments, but most of the conversation would be in English. So you do want to think about that because that's going to play a role in how much you see that language. Mm-hmm. The other thing to think about is how the character, your main character, actually talks to all their family members. So, for example, my mom and I, when it's just us, we talk pretty much entirely in French, with English kind of sprinkled in here and there. But my brothers and I, whenever we're together, we're actually, unless we're with my mom, we actually speak English to each other. So, and I don't know why.
I'm going to text your mom right now.
Okay. Go for it. And that's just how it is. And the other thing to think about with bilingual people is I'm very self-conscious whenever I'm around people who are English speaking about speaking French, because there are people out there who are they get uncomfortable when you speak in another language around them. And I've been on the end of that where people have been like, hey, what are you saying? Are you saying something about me? And it's it's like, dude, no, I'm not. I'm just talking. And so as a result, if Meg and I were hanging out, for example, and my mom called me, I'd probably pick up the phone and I'd be like, oh, salut, maman, ça va, kind of thing. I'd say all my pleasantries in French, and then I would switch to English because I just get uncomfortable. Like, I don't want
I
anyone.
speak French. Why would you feel uncomfortable?
I'm using you as an example. I'm just saying, like,
This is
you know,
a bad example.
okay, fine. Joe Blow on the street. You know, and it's just that feeling of uncomfortableness that I don't want anyone to think that I'm talking about them or anything like that. Because, like I said, I just get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I will say is you also want to think about, oh God, I had it in my head and my brain just like died here. Probably from this drink.
The poison is setting it.
It's just like it's poisonous and it's eating my brain. The other thing I will say, whenever you have someone who's bilingual, the one thing that I hate when people ask me is they're like, "Oh, speak French to me," and I'm like, "Why? We can't have a conversation." And so like it bugs me a bit. Like I'll do it, but at the same time, I'm like, "This is dumb."
Yeah.
So those are like, I guess, little things to like think about it. A lot of it's just thinking about the character, how they relate to their family, how do they relate to people around them, how comfortable do they feel, you know, speaking a foreign language in front of other people and that kind of stuff. I think that's all I've got.
So I just want to add to that real fast. When you're writing it, it depends on, you know, what, I guess, POV you're writing from, or tense or whatever. So just a reminder for bilingual characters, people think and speak in English and whatever language they're at. And not only that, but they might mutter to themselves in their, like, you know, native language or whatever, like the phrase that they're looking for before they find it in, you know, whatever they're translating it to. But there's also slang that and cursing that they're going to keep probably in one language or the other. Maybe they just have a preference for it. And yeah, so just remember that. Like, so in Birds and Bullets, for example, Jamie will switch to Spanish a lot, and he does it kind of because he's a dick, and he does it to people that he assumes don't speak Spanish, so that he can be a little dramatic and mean to them without being mean to their face. But he switches back and forth between that, and, you know, in his head, sometimes he's thinking in Spanish and sometimes he's talking in Spanish. So yeah, just remember that when you're writing that, if you're going to write it with a family, like maybe, like Elle said, hey, their dad doesn't speak the language. Maybe they're going to take a shot at him in another language, you know, or think something, you know. So, yeah. Okay.
Just to rip off that, sorry, just a little bit. That whole thinking thing, yeah, like, for example, like, for me, I'm someone who, like, if I'm really flustered or if you've kind of got me, like, if I'm in really high emotions and stuff like that, I actually tend to get a little bit French thinking, and then it makes it really difficult because I'm trying to talk to someone. I'm trying to talk to them in English, of course, because we're obviously having a conversation and you want to hear from me. And so I get a lot of, like, you'll hear a lot from me, like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to think. Because I'm trying to, like, be like, okay, like, give me 5 seconds to think here.
Yeah.
But I don't want you to think that I'm not, like, there anymore. But it's like, I need 5 seconds to, like, translate this in my head and get it out to you. So that is definitely something to think about. And then the other thing, oh gosh, there was something else that you said that I was going to comment on. Oh, right. The other thing you should think about is what is their first language. So, you know, like for me, it's like English is my first language and then French is second. So that makes a big difference. I have a much bigger vocabulary in English than I do in French. So you want to think about that as well. Where is their bigger vocabulary going to be, right? Like I grew up in an English town, went to an English school, like, you know, university, went English, like, so that's what I'm saying, like, just kind of think about that kind of stuff too. Like that does definitely, I find, make a difference in the way that, like, I talk. And there are some things I can't translate, by the way, you guys. Like Meg was asking a question. So my mom's a nurse, and so we use her sometimes for medical stuff, and sometimes she'll talk to me and I'll be like, you know, I can't translate that, Mom. you gotta switch to English. So just like those are kind of little things to like think about. So yeah.
Well, guys, I got news. We're 5 minutes over. Just kidding.
All right, we got to shut this down though, you guys. We have hit the hour mark. We went with the 5 over Craig. So yeah, I just want to thank everyone who joined us today. Also for those like on our Discord, I saw people saying that like they have to watch on YouTube and stuff. And I just want to say we see you and we're grateful for you for tuning in as well. Whether you come here or you watch later, I mean, it just means so much to us. Like your support means everything. Also really want to say, like, you know, definitely join our Discord. It's so much fun, you guys. And we're really grateful for the community that we're growing. I've seen a lot of really amazing things happening in there, like people giving each other covers and all kinds of really just amazing stuff.
And a lot of Charlie Daying. Like, I'm not jealous. I'm just happy for you guys.
Yeah, anyway, we're loving it.
Is this still the topic we're doing next week? I haven't checked the schedule.
Yeah, no, this is still the topic.
Awesome. Okay. I just want to make sure we have been shifting around our schedule a little bit this season. Usually what we do, or what we've done in the past is Elle and I sit down and we go, okay, next 14 weeks, boom, we're done. But because life happens, you know, we had to take a couple weeks off here and there. We have been kind of jumping around. So I just wanted to make sure.
Coming next week, so for sure it's this topic.
It is, yes. So next Sunday we are talking about Wattpad, and we'll have a special guest. If you can't tell from the chats here, or if you're watching this on YouTube afterwards, it is the Ansley Malcolm. That's her username. But of course, Ansley Malcolm. I think I've said your name right. I've actually now realizing in live time that I've never said it out loud. So Ainsley,
one or the other. I don't know.
Ainsley Malcolm, Ansley Malcolm. The point is
Basil all over again.
I'm so sorry. We should have done a video call before this.
I just want to say it ended with Basil having to voice note that it was Basil for us to finally get it. So it might end the same, you guys.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm trash from the Midwest. All right. So that's all I got. Join our Discord, subscribe to our YouTube and watch our YouTube, hit that thumbs up, you know, it really helps us out. And then more than anything, comment on our posts, share our stories. I mean, get the word out there. That is, that's the best. And if you are on Wattpad or you're not, hey, it's a free site. Sign up, read our books, hit that vote, comment, hint, hint, winkety wink. All right, that's all I got. Bye, guys.
Bye.